Hello, this is an update to my previous video on my favorite LRM boats, which pretty much always happen to be clan mechs. Let's put it this way, I'm sure there's a great LRM boat out there that's innersphere, I just don't own any. Let me talk about this guy. So this guy I call Victor. Victor likes to play around and he's very short but has quite a bit of firepower. Let me show you. 2 LRM-20s, 3 tons of ammo, and 3 ER medium lasers. Now, I made the medium lasers on here because I didn't want to be completely dependent on this mech for the LRMs. It's short, and therefore it's not going to be very easy to tank over the top of hills. And because of the wide body structure of this mech, look at this. This is as wide as a Marauder 2 or a Rhino. This thing is just super wide, spread out, and it's got quite a bit of hitboxes from the sides as well. It's easily much wider than some of the other mechs. Not as tall, but like if you're comparing it to a Novacat's like a slender reed compared to this. So why do I like this mech? I'll show you. Here's the skills. By the way, this is a Omnipod mech, but I'm not using any of the additionals. So we got cooldown minus 10, spread minus 15, heat plus minus 5, missile range plus 15, missile velocity plus 20, and then range plus 5. We're getting a bunch of armor quirks here as well. Nothing really incredible, usual stuff for a clan mech. But we're also getting torso yaw angle plus 10, heat dissipation plus 5, and overheat damage minus 20. That's before we even get into the skills. When you get into the skills, you're going to see that this is pretty much the way I run most of my LRM boats, with one exception. This one actually has an additional heat section here, but it's range, a little bit of heat, velocity, missile features, maximum survivability, whenever possible. Sometimes I have to trade out something if I have AMS on board. I don't care about speed as much. It's fast enough. But cooldown, or what I can call cooling survivability, decay, being able to detect mechs when they come up behind me or get close, deprivation, and of course my usual stuff. Now this mech does not have narc on it, so I'm not even really considering or worried about that. Now, what was on this guy is pretty similar to what's on this guy. This guy doesn't have the additional laser point, but it's basically the same loadout overall. A little bit better on the ammo, but that's about it. And when you go to the skill tree here, you can see that it's got all the energy, the cooldown, additional cooldowns, missile range, velocity, things like that, energy range. And then heat dissipation and overheat damage. It's actually fairly similar mech, so if you had to make a choice between these two, I would probably go with the Adder. The Cougar, the Adder has better survivability as far as having an additional missile or laser point, but the Cougar has the ability to put more weapons on board, or I mean more ammo on board. So it's a trade-off. And you're going to see that it's basically the same as the others, except this one has AMS. Moving on. Medium mechs. Well, there's only really one, and that's the Hunchback 2C. This is the LRM boat variant, and I ran with 3 LRM-20s, laser AMS, narc, which is the first one of my smaller mechs to get narc, and then 2 ER medium lasers, and not a lot of ammo. 6 tons of ammo for the LRMs is not a lot, but this mech does fairly well, and here's why. So you're getting not getting any advantage there, but you're getting pretty decent amounts of survivability for as far as armor goes. And with the skills, you're going to see It's pretty much the same. I had to sacrifice some velocity for this. For whatever reason, it just didn't work out the same way. I don't understand. Oh, and it's because this guy has narc as well. That's right. So this mech is actually quite a bit of fun, and it's far tankier than it looks. Moving on to the heavies. The heavies is pretty much where I live. I don't even know why this is in the list. I really don't know. I have all my LRM boats favorited. So here I've got 2 of the bees. I also have a Cobra Cat, because why not? This was a loyalty, and it actually does really well. This is the Orion 2C, and it's actually fairly tanky. I didn't take advantage of the ballistic weapon, but I did take advantage of having 2 large pulses as my defensive weapons. And the Hellfire, this is the A and the C, and basically the difference between the two really comes down to the quirks. But honestly, I don't take advantage of the quirks on these. I don't do the ballistics. I don't care about Gauss. This one here is basically set up as 4, 4, and 1 with AMS, and I really love these mechs. It's a toss-up which is my favorite, the Nova Cat or the Hellfire. Some weeks it's one and some it's another. The one thing you will notice on this is this does not have narc. I tried running narc on this. I couldn't make it work really well, just my play style. But this mech does so well on damage. I regularly do over 600 damage on this mech as a regular. And that's not bad considering this is a pretty small mech. What are we talking about here? 60-ton heavy mech. It's got laser AMS. It's got lots of ammo. And the cooling, 121, isn't the best, but it does really well, and I do cycle through all the weapons. Left, right, and then these ones are on my button 3, like normal. You can see I'm not getting energy cooldown. That's cool. Energy, laser, heat generation. That's also cool. -5 and +10 on the others. And that's about where the features of this mech goes. But this mech is fairly tanky as far as being able to survive really well, and I'm very happy with it. And then once again, all the usual refinements. You look at one of my mechs, you look at the other mech, they're pretty similar across the board. So I have 2 of these on Ebon Jaguars. One's the C and one is the B. And missile cooldown on the C is just slightly better, as I recall. Missile cooldown features +15. Missile heat generation -10. UX jam, obviously, I'm never going to use. Energy heat +2.5%. And this mech is just quite a bit of fun to play. And I'll show you why. So I'm running 4. I just have to laugh. I'm running 3 LRM 20s and a narc, and then I've got 1 heavy medium laser and then 2 machine guns. And I still have a laser AMS on board. And this is a very viable build. It works really well. You're not going to get a lot of the quirk features because this is a hodgepodge build. But you're getting some missile cooldown, velocity, things like that, energy, heat. Once again, velocity, heat, cooldown, things like that. Back to the mechs. This guy is fairly similar as far as the features go between the two. Now let's get to the meat and potatoes. So the Nova Cat B is, given on the different type of the week, it could be my favorite or my second favorite, depending on how I feel. But this guy is set up really nice, and I'm actually kind of playing with this one a little bit. This one's got 4 double heat sinks, and then it also has the narc, and then 5 LRM 15s. And when you go to the other one I have that's identical, oh wow, it is the same. And I guess I forgot something here. I thought I was going with a 3-ton variant on that. 3 tons of double heat sinks. But anyways, yeah, this is a great mech, and the way this is set up, if you put the narc as the last weapon on the right arm or the left arm, whichever one you prefer, it ends up putting the narc up high. And the Cobra Cat. The Cobra Cat's the same kind of thing, where, you know, the narc ends up higher, but this mech has 4 missile points, so I use 3 of them, and then I have the 4 ER mediums for self-defense. And this is a fully skilled out mech, and you can see cooldown, firepower, heat, XP, things like that, you know, acceleration, deceleration, turn rate. It actually feels quite a bit different between this one and the Nova Cat B. And once again, the skills are pretty much the same. So now let's move on to the Sun Spiders. Now, I don't have an ambush here, but I do love the ambush quite a bit. But this mech here is also quite a bit of fun. Let me show you. So I'm running 4 ballistic weapons. I'm not taking advantage of any of the original quirks, but I'm running 4 LRM 15s and then 4 machine guns. And this thing is a lot of fun. It doesn't have the damage that lasers do, but when you get in close quarters, this is going to really make a difference. And why does this keep doing that? That's so weird. All of them are like this. But when you go to the skills help out quite a bit. The Sun Spider is a lot of fun to drive as well. And it holds its own. This is a different build that I have of the Sun Spider. And I believe this one's the fully omnipod. Yeah, it is. And with this one, I'm running 2 SRM 6s, 2 LRM 15s, and then lots and lots of ammo. And even with all these missile points, the heat is 1.54, and it's just wonderful. This thing never overheats. I put the override on anyways, but it's just my personality. And so, XP bonuses, missile velocity, plus 10%. You know, the base armors, the usual things like that. It's fairly tanky. It's not incredible on the right arm or left arm, but it's what it is. But target decay, plus 0.5. Or is that minus? I can never tell. But then when you go to the skill tree, once again, pretty similar to all my other mechs. I figured out something that works really well, and I stuck with it. It seems to work really well across the board. Now, the Ryan 2C, I think we talked about this earlier. This guy, you know, running 2 large pulse lasers, some heat control, because 1.23 is not incredible, and it's going to get hot. And these are all seem to be off just by a little bit. I don't understand. Whatever. Lastly, let's get to our assaults. Not a lot of choices here. So I'm running a Warhammer 2C2, and this is the equivalent of the Nova Cat B, sort of. This one has 5 missile points and 2 energy, so they're actually fairly similar as far as that feature goes. So I'm running a narc, and I'm running 4 LRM 20s, which is still very viable as far as the amount of damage. For me, anything over 50 is viable. And then this guy here is actually like the Cobra Cat. And it's a fairly similar build. So I'm running 3 LRM 20s and an arc, and then it has 4 laser points and a reasonable amount of ammo. Actually, it's quite good, actually. And then 6 double heat sinks. So this one's 1.34. So now if you go from this guy here and go directly to the Cobra Cat and look at it, they're fairly similar. 3 LRM 20s, an arc, and then 4 laser points. And then this one also has 6 tons of double heat sinks. And otherwise, they're, other than the fact that one's an assault and one's a heavy, they basically do the same amount of damage. They just do it in different ways. What I like better about the Warhammer 2C is, look where the narc ends up on this guy here. It's way down, just like it is on the Novacat B. But when you go over to this guy, and you go to the 4, God, where'd that narc go? It's not down low in the arm. And I'll show you where. It's right there. It's way up. It's above the cabin. So if you can see it, you can shoot it with a narc. It's actually higher up than the laser point, which is in the head. And that makes for a huge advantage. When I get into this mech, I'm narking people left and right. And I'm pissing people off like crazy. I regularly go through all the narc ammo that this offers, which is 15 shots regularly. So you'd think I'd put another half ton in there for the, or maybe another ton for the narc. No. Because even though I ran out of the ammo in this, I still get plenty of target locks. And at the end of the match, it's actually easier to target people than it is in the beginning of the match. In the beginning of the match, you're losing target lock all the time. So if somebody's dumb enough to come out and I can get a narc on them, you know, if you can get a narc on a light mech, you're going to make his life hell versus the other way around. Because if you can't get a narc or a lock on him and you can't do damage to him, he's going to make your life suck. By the way, this is the way I usually run the armor in my assault mechs. It's only in my assault mechs I do this. So going back to this guy here, this one also has the narc way up high in addition to these spots here. And the easiest way to do this, let me show you, is once again, like on the some of the other mechs, you put the narc as the last weapon. And it puts it up high but in the middle. If you swap these two here, what ends up happening is the narc ends up way down here, like down here in the torso, and then you get the LRM 20s up high, which, you know, that works out, but it's not as good as where it's at now. This is way up high, and I think this is a better shot of it. Yeah, you can see it right there. And that just makes it so much better. Yeah. So anyway, now we get on to the direwolf, or what I call Chester. Most of my mechs are named Rayman, but I named this one after my dog. And I've got a narc in the head, way up high, and then 4 LRM 20s, and then I'm running 4 medium pulse lasers, which do 7 damage, so I'm pretty happy about that. And the heat's a little bit less than what they normally do, and then I've got lots of ammo. And I actually ended up putting the narc ammo down here. And one of the great things about this particular mech is it has jump jets and ECM. So that's just too good to resist. Because it's a little bit more better survivability with being able to move a little bit better with jump jets and stuff, I reduced the armor on the torsos. But otherwise, I usually run 3 across the board. Sometimes 4, depending on which mech it is. This one gets along pretty well. And as I recall, this is probably also hodgepodge. Yeah, it is. But it still has, you know, velocity, torso yaw, torso angle, and, you know, some other features. Not on the sides here, obviously, but, you know, it's what it is. Jump jet features. I don't think there's anything here. No, not really. But when you go to the skills, once again, looks fairly similar. And once again, you got to have this. If you're running a narc, you absolutely have to have on here projectile speed and duration. Keeping that on there longer just means you can put more damage downrange and get more farm. And getting farm damage is always just a great thing. This one I added a little bit of heat to it, and 1.19 is not incredible, but I'm not firing all the weapons at the same time. I'm cycling through the LRM 20s, and so it really works out really well. So anyways, this is my review on my favorite mechs that are doing LRM damage and spamming down the line. And I really enjoy driving these mechs. I drive them for different reasons. Sometimes I'm frustrated, and sometimes I get into the rain and thunder. This one here, this one and the Cobra Cat are probably my 2 favorite subvariants of the original mechs, because they're built the same way and they do the same overall features. This one just has a higher narc point, and the weapons are spread out differently. You get one on the head, two in this arm, and then one over here. I would have actually preferred both in the torso and both in the arms, just like the way the Cobra Cat is. Hope to see you on the battlefield.